അഗോറ സെമിനാർ സീരീസിന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടുള്ള വെബിനാർ പ്രഭാഷണമാണ് ഇന്നിവിടെ ഡോക്ടർ പി.കെ. സുമോദൻ സാർ നിർവഹിക്കുന്നത്. ഡോക്ടർ പി.കെ. സുമോദൻ സാർ കൊല്ലം ശ്രീനാരായണ കോളേജിലെ വെബിനാറുകളിൽ മുൻപും പങ്കെടുത്തിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്. കൊല്ലം ശ്രീനാരായണ കോളേജിലെ ആത്മബന്ധു എന്നുള്ള നിലയിൽ സാറിനെ ഞാൻ ആദ്യമേ തന്നെ ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി കൊല്ലം ശ്രീനാരായണ കോളേജിനു വേണ്ടി സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുകയാണ്. സാറിന്റെ പ്രഭാഷണം ഇന്ന് പ്രധാനമായിട്ടും ഊന്നുന്നത് കോവിഡ് വാക്സിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചാണെന്ന് ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കുകയാണ്. നമുക്കറിയാം, കോവിഡ് വാക്സിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് ഒരുപാട് തെറ്റിദ്ധാരണകൾ ആദ്യ ഘട്ടങ്ങളിൽ.
ടോപ്പിക് അടുത്ത ടോപ്പിക്കാണ് സാർ ഇനി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ടോപ്പിക് എക്സ്റ്റിങ്ഷനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് സാർ. എക്സ്റ്റിങ്ഷൻ an inevitable phenomenon and an argument.
ഇത് ഏത് വിഷയമാണ് ടീച്ചറെ ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞാല്?
ഇവല്യൂഷനുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടതാ സാറേ. നമ്മള് ഭൂമിയിൽ നിന്ന് ഇനി അപ്രത്യക്ഷമായി പോവോ?
വംശനാശവുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട
ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ചു നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞത്
കൊറോണ വൈറസ് വന്ന് നമ്മള്
അതെ ഭൂമിയിൽ മനുഷ്യന്റെ വാസം ഇനി എത്രത്തോളം ഉണ്ട് എന്നുള്ള തരത്തിൽ ആശങ്ക പരത്തുന്ന ഒന്ന് തന്നെയാണ്. ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ ജീനോമൊക്കെ ആയി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട ആ വിഷയങ്ങളുമായി ഇതിനകത്ത് വരുമെന്ന് ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കുകയാണ്. എത്രത്തോളം സാധ്യതകളുണ്ട് അല്ലെ മനുഷ്യ ജീവിതത്തിന് ഈ ഭൂമിയിൽ എത്രത്തോളം സാധ്യതയുണ്ട്, എത്രത്തോളം പിന്നെ നമ്മുടെ പരിണാമം ഏത് തരത്തിലാകാം എന്നുള്ളതിനെ സംബന്ധിക്കുന്ന ഏറ്റവും പ്രസക്തമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു വെബിനാറാണ് ഇവിടെ നടക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത്. വളരെ പ്രസക്തമായിട്ടുള്ള, ഏറ്റവും എൻജോയബിൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള, ഏറ്റവും കൗതുകകരമായിട്ടുള്ള ഈ വെബിനാർ നടത്താൻ നമ്മുടെ ക്ഷണം സ്വീകരിച്ച് ഇവിടെ എത്തിച്ചേർന്നിരിക്കുന്നത് സുമോദൻ സാറാണ്. ഏവരും ആകാംക്ഷയോടെ കാത്തിരിക്കുന്ന ഈ വെബിനാർ പ്രഭാഷണത്തിനായിട്ട് ഞാനും കാത്തിരിക്കുന്നു. സാറിനെ ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. വെബിനാറിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കുന്ന എല്ലാ ശ്രോതാക്കളെയും ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി അഭിവാദ്യം ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ വാക്കുകൾ ഉപസംഹരിക്കുന്നു. നന്ദി, നമസ്കാരം.
താങ്ക് യു സുനിൽ കുമാർ സർ. ഷീജ. Let me introduce Dr. P.K. Sumodan sir, our resource persons today. I'm so happy to introduce Dr. P.K. Sumodan sir. He took his MSc and PhD in zoology. Dr. Sumodan sir was an associate professor of zoology at Government College, Madapalli from 2003 to 2020. After retirement, he has joined as professor at Markaz College of Arts and Science, Karanthur, Calicut, and serving from 2021 onwards. Earlier, he has served as District Malaria Officer of Wayanad District, Kerala, and also served as Assistant Research Scientist at Malaria Research Center, Goa. He has 29 research publications, 12 popular science publications. He also published 12 books. And coming to membership in university bodies, Sumodan sir was a former member, Faculty of Science at University of Calicut, and also former member UG and PG Board of Studies in Zoology, Kannur University. And still he is a member of PG Board of Studies in Zoology, University of Calicut. He has membership in various professional bodies like Life Member, Indian Society for Parasitology, Regular Member, Society for Vector Ecology. He is included in the editorial boards of African Journal of Biochemistry Research and Journal of Cell and Animal Biology. And about leadership activities, he was a coordinator, internal quality assurance cell of the college from 1985 to 2019, member of governing body of Kozhikode, cluster of colleges, and he has some international experience also. He has invited talks and conference presentations at Mahidol University, Bangkok, Kunming, China, and Malaysia. He has completed 2 funded projects. He has undergone special training in malariology at National Malaria Eradication Program, Delhi. Apart from academics, Dr. Sumodan sir has some interesting hobbies like writing poetry and popular science, broadcasting, quizzing, and blogging. He is also a research guide, MG University, Kottayam, and University of Calicut. Sumodan sir is also reviewer of journal of WHO, and he is also a project reviewer of KSCEST. He is also a faculty member of Dhanus, an initiative of Government of Kerala. Sumodan sir is also associated with Literary Program of Kerala Literacy Mission. On behalf of Srinarayana College Kollam and Team Agora 2021, I wholeheartedly welcome you once again, sir, to start your talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Jishi teacher. I now invite Sumodan sir to deliver his presentation.
Thank you very much, respected Professor Dr. R. Sunil Kumar, Dr. Manoj, Jisha, and all the faculty members of SN College. So, as already stated, I'll be talking about extinction. Extinction due to various reasons. We will see whether extinction is actually a essential process or inevitable process, or we can it's an optional process. So just wait for the presentation. Hope the presentation has come. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, thank you.
Full screen, sir. It's now okay.
Okay, so this is the title, Is Extinction an Inevitable Phenomenon? So it's just an argument. That means there may not be a consensus to say that extinction is an inevitable phenomenon. So I've been told that there are some participants from outside Kerala. So that's the reason why I'm sticking to English. If there are no outsiders, I can even, I can use a Manipravalam language, English as well as Malayalam. Are there any people from outside?
Please message if you need English.
There are? Okay. Pardon?
Shall we wait? Yes, sir. There are from outside.
Okay, no problem. So now, why should we talk about extinction? That is my first question. So you may be having several answers in your mind. But for me, the most important answer is, this is the most important answer for me. So you can see Earth. So Earth is the only non-living planet in the universe. That is the most important aspect of extinction. You know that life originated somewhere around 3.7 billion years ago. So that was a kind of accident. We don't know how that happened, but we know that life did originate, and we also know a little bit about the process of origin of life. Anyway, at present, to our knowledge, Earth is the only planet where life exists. That means if life is going to extinct on Earth, that will be the extinction of life from the universe. So that is a very big thing. So by any means, we have to stop it. Otherwise, that will be a very big disaster for the history of the universe. Okay, now we will see what is the definition of extinction. So extinction is defined like this. Extinction is a termination of a kind of organism or a group of kinds of organism, or a taxon. Extinction of a taxon, usually a species, extinction of a species. The moment of extinction is generally considered to be the death of the last individual of the species. That is what is known as extinction. The last individual of the species should go extinct. Although the ability to breed and recover may have been lost before this point of time. And suppose you have 1 or 2 specimens in the zoo that may not reproduce. So that means the ability to reproduce would have been lost even much before that time, before the time of the death of the last specimen. So there is a phenomenon known as background rate of extinction. What is that background rate of extinction? You know that extinction happens always. It's not a sudden phenomenon, it's a slow process. It has been going on. So it's a constant process. So the average rate of extinction is about one extinction per million species per year. So that is happening. That is a normal kind of rate of extinction. So this normal rate of extinction is known as background rate of extinction. But the current rate is much more than that. The current rate of extinction has been estimated to be 100 to 1000 times greater than the background rate. That means extinction is taking place at a very faster rate. So we should be worried about it. That is why we say that extinction is indeed a grave problem of the day, because it is 1000 times more than the background extinction. So this is not normal extinction, what is going on now. There is another phenomenon known as pseudo-extinction. Extinction and pseudo-extinction. What is pseudo-extinction? Pseudo-extinction means that is otherwise known as phyletic extinction. So this is this extinction of a species which occurs when the species, when a particular species is extinct, but its members of a, but members of a daughter species remain alive. That means one species will be transformed to another species. So that kind of extinction is not known as pseudo-extinction. So here what is happening actually is a modification of the species. The species is modified through various mutations, and it's becoming a second species or third species like that. That kind of extinction is known as pseudo-extinction. So we have been observing both the real extinction as well as pseudo-extinction. So whenever we talk about extinction, the picture that comes into your mind is of a bird. So this is that bird, this is dodo. So this is known as the icon of extinction. So whoever asks you about extinction, so just to, if somebody asks you, give an example for an extinct bird or extinct animal or extinct organism, suddenly you will talk about a dodo. For the picture, what you're seeing here, actually, we don't know what the actual dodo.
Sumodan sir.
Cucullatus. It's originated some 23 million years ago, according to the fossil records. And it went extinct in 1693. So what was the reason for extinction? There are many hypotheses. And one of the hypotheses is by hunting by man or by some competition with invasive and introduced animals. We will talk about that later. The bird was first used as an example of human-introduced extinction, so anthropological extinction, in Penny Magazine, 1833. So we started talking about extinction due to human interference or anthropogenic extinction. That was in 1833. So that was published in Penny Magazine in 1833 and has since been referred to as the icon of extinction. It was from the the term icon of extinction started with the publication of this article in Penny Magazine in 1833. There are many misconceptions about dodo. The story goes like this. This plump, flightless bird was so tasty and so tame that it was hunted to extinction within a century by Dutch sailors arriving on the shores of Mauritius. This is the popular story about dodo. But actually the facts are different. So what are the facts? Tasty, they are not. They were not actually tasty. The waste pits from the Mauritian settlements, which were excavated and published in 2013, are full of animal bones, but there was not even a single dodo in that. That means the dodo was not used for eating. So that was also a misconception. The second misconception was hunted to extinction. It's very unlikely because Mauritius was very thick and it was having very thick and impenetrable rainforest. So it was not possible to reach that this rainforest, and it was not possible to hunt them. Okay, so that concept also, that belief is also likely to be false. Then plump. Were they really plump? They were not very plump. The tubby bird depicted in with the picture what we have seen, which I have shown you in the previous slide. Actually, that is not the actual dodo. That was reconstructed. So we don't know how they looked like, the original dodo, how it looked like. So these were all misconceptions. That means, that doesn't mean that human beings do not have any role in the extinction of these birds. There were. The human has its roles. Then how did dodos go extinct? You know that Dutch sailors probably first encountered the bird in 1598. So actually that started the ending of the bird. That was the beginning of the extinction of the bird. But the sailors themselves did not make much of a contribution to the dodo extinction. That means there was no direct killing or hunting of these birds. At most, there were a few hundred people living in a coastal settlement because the population was very, very less in those days. So it was not possible for that population to hunt down all these dodos, that also in a very thick forest. So what was the problem? The problem was more likely that the ship rats and other animals they brought with them, that spread across Ireland, eating dodo eggs and outcompeting the food. Because Mauritius is a very small island, there were no predators for these dodos. So till then, but by the arrival of human beings along with their rats and other domestic animals, they started competing with this dodo, and they were actually outcompeted. That is what was happened. Unfortunately, these dodos extinct at an unfortunate time. What does that mean? Specimens of the strange bird were sent to Europe for scientific study in those days, but they were not taken care of properly. In several museums and university collections, skeletons and stuffed dodos survived, but unfortunately, Europe's 17th century scientists did not realize quite how valuable these specimens were, so that they were lost. The problem was that the dodo had disappeared at the wrong time. Its extinction came along before scientists were willing to accept that species really vanish forever. So they were not ready to accept the fact that the species can go extinct. So there was no talk about discussions about extinction in those days. So their argument was like this. Why, they argued, would an all-powerful God doom some of these valuable creatures' fate? So the science was not as developed as it is today. So still the science was mixed with theology. So the scientists were not ready to accept the fact that a species can go extinct with the powerful God around. So that is not a possibility. That is what they thought in those days. Why to talk about all the scientists, even our great Charles Darwin didn't care much about extinction, especially human-induced extinction. He was also aware of extinction, but he was also not giving much importance to extinction. Okay, so in the Origin of Species, Charles Darwin made his view of extinction and its role in evolution. For him, extinction was, that inevitable for evolution. Without extinction, there is no evolution. That was what was his argument. So this is what he has written in the origin of species. I will give you only some points. It was a very elaborate section in origin of species. So only some points I will discuss here. He saw 4 essential features in extinction. Which were they? One is extinction of species have occurred gradually and continuously throughout the history of life. Species and groups of species gradually disappear one after another, first from one spot, then from all over the world, finally from all over the world. The complete extinction of the species of a group is generally slower than their reproduction. If the appearance and disappearance be represented on a vertical line of varying thickness, the line is found to taper more gradually towards the upper end, which marks the progress of extermination. This is what he has written. What he meant was extinction is essential for evolution. So extinction of one species will give rise to origin of another species or evolution of second species, third species, like that. This was the concept of extinction for Charles Darwin. So I'm not discussing everything on this slide because because of lack of time. However, the dodo came to limelight in scientific publications by the publication of Hugh Edwin Strickland and Alexander Gordon Melville. In 1848, they published a monograph. This is the name of the monograph. This is the monograph, The Dodo and Its Kindred. Actually, this has triggered some interest in extinction of species. And in popular literature also, dodo started appearing. In 1865, Lewis Carroll's famous novel, I'm sure all of you have at least heard about this novel, Alice in Wonderland. So there's a character in Alice in Wonderland. So you can see the picture here. This is the dodo in Alice in Wonderland. Probably I've seen it in movies or in cartoon strips. So why I'm talking about Lewis Carroll and Alice in Wonderland, that we will come to know later. Okay, so there is one more importance for this particular aspect. Similar to dodo, another very important icon of extinction is passenger pigeon, which were abundant in North America, and by the arrival of Europeans in America, they were hunted to extinction. Actually, that was directly because of the hunting of these birds by the early settlers. And if you come to Kerala, so we also have a very famous animal which was extinct. We don't know why it went extinct. It may not be because of human interference. There is the Malabar large spotted civet or Malabar civet. Okay, its scientific name is Vivera civetina, Blith, 1862. Vivera civetina, that is the scientific name of it. Blith is the author of the name, 1862. It was this species was erected in 1862. We don't know when this species originated. We don't have any fossil record for that. Okay, but it went extinct in the 1900s. Recently, there were some reports of citing this species, but they were all that misidentification. That was not actually this large spotted civet. There are civets which are smaller in size, which are the cousins of this particular species. These are quite big. Which have already gone extinct. We don't have this species now. Okay, now how the concept of extinction started. The concept of extinction actually sprung from a German cave. It started like this. A chain of events was set off when a professor of theology descended into a cave in southern Germany in 1748. Accompanied only by a local gamekeeper as a guide, he entered another cave and recorded, which was recorded by a poem he originally wrote in Latin. That went like this. So his experience was described in a poem. This was the this was the important part of that poem. The gruesome, terror-inspiring cavern, the lightest dodo. As I looked, see horrendous human bones. I can see bodies turned to stones. In fact, I'm not able to read it. Okay, 1 minute. And skeletons left lying on the floor. So he thought that these were skeletons of some very huge human beings. He didn't know these bones belonged to some extinct animals. But later on, this was interpreted by a German anatomist, Johann Christian Rosenmüller, who lived between 1771 and 1820. So Rosenmüller concluded that with the large teeth, jaws, and skulls, these remains were from a bear, not a human. But they were different from any bear known to science at that day. The bones were from a kind of bear that once lived but then went extinct. So this was a very revolutionary discovery. Why it was so revolutionary? Because the whole concept of extinction, something so central of our view of life today, was virtually unknown in his day. So extinction, the phenomenon of extinction was not known till that day. So this was the beginning of the concept of extinction. So that was in the 1800s. Later on, Baron Cuvier expanded this theory of extinction. So Rosenmüller's notion of extinction was to gain new meaning through the work of the great French anatomist, Baron Cuvier. Cuvier was a curator at the Museum of Natural History in Paris during a time of scientific discovery. Creatures, including fossils, were arriving in Paris from a variety of expeditions launched around the world. So that was a period of discovery. So the museums in Paris was receiving different kinds of animals, fossils, etc., from different parts of the world. Many of these were new to science, and some of them drew particular interest. Like the cave bears of Rosenmüller's day, woolly mammoths stood out as being unlike anything alive on the planet. So that was when the remains of woolly mammoth was discovered from the Arctic. Cuvier saw in these creatures the seeds of a new general theory, one of extinction. So the theory of extinction got consolidated by the work of Baron Cuvier. So these creatures lived in the past and were later eliminated from the planet. So that concept of extinction actually got consolidated by the work of Baron Cuvier. Okay, so extinction to Cuvier revealed repeated catastrophe in the past. So that means the concept of extinction is about 200 to 50 years old. That is the age of the concept of extinction. Okay, many of these were new to science, and some of them drew particular interest. Okay, that I've already discussed that. Now, at present, we always talk about extinction due to anthropogenic interventions, extinction due to human beings. But you can see from these past discussions, now it is clear that there was extinction even much before the origin of man, because that was a natural process. Even according to Darwin's concept of extinction was a natural process. As of today, according to an estimate, around 99.9% of all those that have ever existed are now extinct. That means we have only 0.1% of the living organisms which have been living on Earth, or which originated Earth maybe since 3.7 billion years ago. And we have only 0.1 of them remaining. All remaining 99%, 0.9% organisms got extinct. Okay, so that is not because of human beings. That doesn't mean I'm not arguing in favor of human beings. That is not the purpose of this webinar. We have a very important role in extinction of many species that I will come to that later. Anyway, the Earth has already witnessed 5 mass extinctions, and the 6th anthropogenic extinction is in progress. So probably I've studied it in your evolution about the mass extinction at a very massive level. So far, we have the Earth witnessed 5 massive extinctions, and the 6th one is going on today. That is why this is, as we discussed earlier, the rate of extinction is 10 to 1,000 times more than the normal background rate of extinction. So that is an evidence that extinction is going on. A massive extinction is under the process is going on now. So these are the 5 massive extinctions. The first extinction was that was the Ordovician Silurian extinction that happened 440 million years ago, and about 86% of all life forms extinct during this period extinction. The second one was the late Devonian extinction, 365 million years ago. About 75% of life died off during this period. The third one was during that was the Permian Triassic extinction. That was 250 million years ago, and here also 96% of all life perished. Fourth one was Triassic Jurassic extinction. That was 201.3 million years ago. Okay, then the fifth one was the Cretaceous Paleogenic extinction. That is 66 million years ago. 60 to 76% of life forms got extinct during this period. And the current one is going on. This is what is known as the current mass extinction is known as Holocene extinction, because we are living in the Holocene period. So this started 11,700 years ago, and that is still going on. So at present, whenever we talk about extinction, we talk about the current extinction, which is more important because we as a species is contributing to the extinction of our fellow species. So that is why it is very important. And since it is being, that triggered by human beings, there's a possibility that we can curtail, we can at least reduce the impact of human life, our life on other species, by altering our lifestyles, by changing our lifestyles, by introducing various conservation methods. We may be able to reduce the rate of extinction. That's why this is very important. And that is the reason why I have taken this topic as a topic for this webinar. So the first question is extinction inevitable? Probably you have an answer now. It is inevitable, but the thing is, we can maybe by our active intervention, we may be able to reduce the rate of extinction. So normally we say that where there is life, there is death. So death is inevitable. That is about individuals. An individual will die anyway. If all of us will die, we are all mortals. None of us are immortals. So that's a fact that where there is life, there is death. So you can say that the lifespan of a species varies from species to species. So I have given a list of some animals, the average lifespan of animals in the wild. This is a very big list. I'm not going to read out all the names. That means it varies from species to species. That's what I want to stress here. The lifespan varies from species to species. So here in the case of human beings, what is the average lifespan of human beings? Around 79 years. This is the global average. So it varies from country to country. Okay, so in India, it is less than that. In Kerala, it is almost around this figure, 75 to 79, almost like this. In some countries, it is very low. So if you take the global average, it is about 79 years. So normally we say that humans can live up to 120 years. So there is a very old concept. There are only very few people, very few people, that cross the limit of 100 years. So you can't say that the average lifespan of human being is 120. It's about 79. So it varies. Here is another list of very animals which can live for hundreds of years, like ocean quahog. It's a bivalve that can live up to 507 years. Greenland shark can live up to 400 years. And some animals can live up to 250 years, 200 years, like that. So some animals are there which can live 3 to 4 centuries. So this is Jonathan the tortoise. He has been in news very recently. Okay, so he was born in 1832. The tortoise will be 190 years old in 2022. That means now it is 189 years old. Its scientific name is Aldabrachylis gigantea hololisa. It lives in Saint Helena Island. This is an island in the Pacific Ocean. So this is the oldest known land animal which is alive today. So that is what is the importance of Jonathan. Okay, now we have been talking about lifespan of individuals in a species. And there is another concept known as species age. That is the individual what we have been talking about. They were all individual ages of species, or the age of individuals in a species. This is another concept. It is the species age. What is species age? Species age is the time elapsed since the species arose by speciation. So what is the species age of human beings? It's about 2 lakhs years. So like that, since the origin, what is the time period? That is what is known as species age. The proposition that extinction of species could depend on their age, that is, the time since arising by speciation, is a long history of investigation and debate. Some scientists are in favor of this theory, but others are against this theory. So there are 2 schools of thoughts regarding the species age and its connection with extinction. Application of recent sophisticated statistical methods suggested that species extinction is indeed age dependent in some groups of animals, not in all. And this is a very recent study of 2006, Doran et al. In 2006. Nonetheless, the sum of evidence remains ambiguous and various patterns seem plausible. That means there may be some animals may have some connection with this species. The extinction of some species are related to species age, but in some other groups, it may not be applicable. That all depends on the adaptability of the species. Okay, we can equate species extinction to species death or individual death. Sorry, not a species death, individual death. Let us compare an individual and a species. So origin of a species can be compared to the birth of an individual. Okay, extinction of a species can be compared to death of an individual. So there is a lifespan. Okay, so each species has its own lifespan. It depends on its adaptability to its environment. There are genetic factors as well as normally the death of an individual that is directly related to its genetic aspects. But the lifespan of a species need not be entirely related to genetics. It is also very important. It mainly depends on its adaptability to its environment, because environment is changing. The earth is continuously changing. So the species should be adaptable to the changing environment. Otherwise, it will go extinct. So the inevitability of extinction revolves around this concept. How the species, adapt to its environment. If it can easily adapt to a changing environment, it will live longer. Otherwise, if it can live only in very narrow limits of environmental factors, they will die fast. Okay, so that is interconnected. But unfortunately, as I said earlier, there are arguments against and in support of these arguments. And I believe that species age is a fact. There is something called species age. It may not be it may not be that completely dependent on the physical features of the environment, but it may have some relationship with the biotic environment also, biotic as well as biotic factors in an ecosystem. Okay, so to prove that, we have only very few evidences. So what kind of evidence we are looking for? We should know when a particular species originated and when it went extinct. We have a few examples for that, but we don't have a very large data on that. So to arrive at a conclusion in a scientific study, if you are doing a scientific study, if you want to prove something, you should have very large data. If your data is very small, the statistics is like that. If the sample size is very small, that the result will be, the conclusions will be erroneous. So we need a very large data. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of a data. So we may have to depend on genetic analysis. You will get some clues from our genetic analysis, especially that we calculated the origin of the origin of man using these mitochondrial genes. You know that what is mitochondrial Eve. Probably I've heard of this concept. Mitochondrial Eve means the first common mother of the entire humanity. That is what is known as mitochondrial Eve. Similarly, Y chromosome Adam, by analyzing the genes of Y chromosome. So I'm not going to discuss in detail about these techniques which we use in estimating the time of origin of species. Anyway, we have some techniques for that. We may be able to use that also to arrive at some conclusions. But we have a few examples. I'll be showing only some of the examples. So one example is the Tasmanian tiger. Tasmanian tiger is a marsupial. It looks like a tiger, but they are actually marsupials. But they're carnivores. There is a Thylacinus cynocephalus, that is the scientific name. So they lived in mainland Australia and Tasmania, which is near to Australia, then New Guinea. According to the fossil records, they originated 2 million years ago and went extinct in 1990. Not very, that means it's quite recent. The extinction was quite recent. That means there are people who have seen these animals. The main reason is, one of the reasons was hunting. Then the second reason was introduction of dogs to Australia. Okay, so there were not dogs on Australia before the advent of human beings. So after humans settled, they also brought their domestic animals. They were the closest friends, dogs. So there was a competition with these dogs. So they went extinct. So here we can calculate what is the species age. We can calculate that is about 2 million years. That is the species age of Tasmanian tiger. Like that, we can calculate the species age of various animals. The second example is woolly mammoth. Mammothus primigenius is a very popular example. All of you know that what is a woolly mammoth. They are actually elephant. They look like elephant, but much bigger in size and covered with wool. Origin about 400,000. I mean, that means 4 lakh years ago. And they went extinct 4,000 years ago. Okay, so the species age of woolly mammoth is less than that of the Tasmanian tiger. Okay, the main reason of extinction was climate change as well as hunting because of the melting of polar ice caps. That was the main reason for its extinction. About melting of ice, we'll discuss later. This is the iconic dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Normally we call it T-Rex. Probably have seen them in that movies. Scientific name is Titanosaurus Rex. According to the fossil records, they originated some 80 million years ago, but they went extinct 65 million years ago. That means their species age was 15 million years. Okay. Again, we don't know. We are not very clear why dinosaurs went extinct. There are many theories. Still, we don't know. Then Homo erectus, our ancestor. So scientific name Homo erectus, origin 2 million years ago. So they also went extinct 0.14 million years ago. So their, that species age was 2 million years. Homo sapiens neanderthaliensis, our closest relative. So they originated about like us. They also originated some 2 lakh years ago. Extinct some 24,000 to 34,000 years ago. And there are 2 reasons. One is climate change. Second is competition with Homo sapiens, us, competition with human beings. Another, this is a Lima. Lima is Babacosia rhodophyli, scientific name Babacosia rhodophyli. Origin 5 to 11 million years ago. They got extinct 2 lakh years ago. Okay, so from here also we can calculate the species age. Similarly, like that, we can calculate the species age of many animals, and we can also investigate why they got extinct, what are the reasons of their extinction, these kinds of things. Anyway, I'm not going into details of analysis of the reasons why they went extinct. This is a very recent publication, so I thought it would be interesting. The last of the Siberian unicorns. What happened to the beast of legend? So they were legendary animals. They were very big animals like a rhinoceros, but much bigger in size. So they went extinct. Elasmotherium sibericum, also known as the giant rhinoceros or the giant Siberian unicorn, because of its horn, they were called unicorns. It's an extinct species of rhino that lived in the Eurasian area in the late Pliocene and Pleistocene areas. They had been documented from 2.6 million years ago, but the most recent fossils came around 29,000 years ago. Okay, so their lifespan, that was the species age of this species. So we still don't know why they became extinct. Okay, now we will discuss some of the reasons why these animals are going extinct. What are the reasons of extinction? So mainly there are 2 reasons. One is biotic reasons. Second is physical reasons. I think we are running short of time, so I will make it a little faster. So Darwin's concept of extinction, already we have discussed about it. So no need of, for him, extinction is inevitable for evolution. Because whichever species is more adapted, that will survive, and others will die because of competition among species. They will be outcompeted and they will be extinct. That was the concept of Darwin. Just imagine what would have happened if dinosaurs did not go extinct. So according to Charles Darwin, for evolution, extinction is a must, is essential. Without extinction, there is no proper evolution as we see now. So just imagine what would have happened if dinosaurs were still around, if they didn't go extinct. If that happened, the biodiversity which we witness today would have been much different. Okay, even we can say that probably Homo sapiens would not have been evolved because of the dominance of the species, even for mammals. In those days, there were mammals, but mammals were very small. They were not the dominant group of animals on Earth. They were the dominant. Okay, so if they did not, they had not go extinct, probably human beings would not have been there. This webinar would not have happened. Okay. So the main meiotic reasons are, as we see, one could be inbreeding, especially in the beginning. Inbreeding means, especially in the case of asexual organisms. That means there is no genetic variability. If there is no genetic variability, what will happen? Lethal mutations will accumulate, and finally that will kill the organism. That's what happening in inbreeding. Similarly, if the population is very small, for example, some isolated population, if the population is very small And that will also lead to inbreeding because there are not enough individuals for variability in genes. There will be no genetic variability if the population is very small. Those species can also go extinct. But the most important factor is competition. Competition among species. If many species are originating simultaneously, the chances of extinction is also more because there will be competition for various resources, for space, for food, for etc. etc. So to explain competition, there is a hypothesis known as red queen hypothesis. It looks so interesting that's why I'm mentioning here. This is also a character of Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland. Okay, so that's why I mentioned Alice in Wonderland in the previous slide. What is this red queen hypothesis? And who is this red queen? The red queen is a fictional character from Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. Through the Looking Glass is a sequel of Alice in Wonderland. The character Alice is there in this book also. Okay, so in all his books, Alice is a character. He has written many novels. Okay, so after Alice in Wonderland, he wrote Through the Looking Glass. So the red queen is a character in this book. In the book, the red queen explains to Alice that her world works differently. What is that? How is that? Now, this is the words of our red queen. Now, here you see, she is telling Alice, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast as that. What does that mean? In that land, in the land of red queen, everybody is running. Okay, nobody stands. If you're standing somewhere, you will be left behind. Okay, so if you want to remain in a particular place, you have to run. Okay, but if you want to reach another place, if you want to cover a distance, you have to run faster. That means at least twice as fast that only you can reach there. So how we can this concept can be related to competition? So what is red queen hypothesis? The red queen hypothesis was coined by Leigh Van Valen in 1972 to explain that species must adapt and evolve not just for reproductive advantage, but also for survival, because competing organisms also are evolving, because many animals are evolving. So there is double competition among the species for a sex or sexual partner, and also they should also compete with other animals. So that is what is that this hypothesis known as red queen hypothesis. It's important to note that competing organisms can be friendly. For instance, those that rely on the same food sources. That means the competition doesn't mean predation. Predation and competition are not, we know that, synonymous. Okay, so this competition, that is one of the reasons for extinction. Whichever species is more competent, that will survive, and the less competent species will get extinct. Okay. Now, the physical reasons for, there are many reasons. These are more important actually. Perhaps Charles Darwin didn't think much about the physical reasons. He was talking about only competition. But it's not like that. Earth has been changing since its beginning. Probably 4.6 billion years ago, it has been evolving. Okay, so there were changes in temperature. Temperature changes mainly due to glaciation as well as buildup of carbon dioxide. Okay, then the amount of oxygen that was changing throughout the life of Earth. The amount of water. Similarly, geological or astronomical events like tectonic movements, then astronomical events like impact of asteroids, etc. So that would change the chemistry of the oceans, atmosphere, or both. So because of that, the environment changes constantly. These include asteroid impacts, major periods of widespread volcanism because of volcanoes, tectonic changes, etc., etc. Because of all these geological and astrological processes, plus biological processes, Earth has been changing since its beginning. Some of the examples of asteroid impact. So there has been a study recently by Alvarez and his co-authors in 1980. What they have done, they simulated or modeled the impact of an asteroid. An asteroid impact of a bolide. Bolide means it's a very big, that meteorite that is, which is very bright, and it's like a fireball that is called a bolide. A bolide 10 kilometers in diameter has been modeled using computer to release energy equivalent to a trillion tons of TNT. If such a meteorite impacts on Earth, what will happen? So there will be a release of to a trillion tons of TNT and inject large amounts of particulate matter, dust and that kind of matter into the atmosphere. So that means what will happen? The result would be a global darkening of the skies and cooling of the climate. Both of these effects would lead to changes across multiple trophic levels, affecting plant diversity and abundance, with cascading effects through ecosystems. So actually, this kind of impact happened when? So there are some evidences for asteroid impacts. Both of these predictions have proven to hold at the end Cretaceous event, 66 million years ago. So 66 million years ago, there was an asteroid impact which led to mass extinction. The evidence are like this. Geological sections from around the world reveal layers enriched in iridium, an element known to be present in certain kinds of meteoroids. Okay, this the measurement of this iridium. So that was an evidence for the impact of asteroids during end Cretaceous event. Okay, so due to positive time, I'm skipping it. I'm going fast. So as I told you earlier, Earth has been changing since its beginning. So Earth was like this 200 million years ago. There were no continents. All the continents were together. Okay. Then slowly, 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 what happened? They have become like this today. Okay. There was because of tectonic movement. There were, these continents were drifting. Continent, that is what is not a continental drift. So, there was the Earth has changed a lot during all these years since 200 million years ago. Similarly, temperature has been changing. You can see ups and downs of temperature throughout the period. One of the most important example is oxygen catastrophe. The impact of oxygen on that biodiversity. What was that? This is also known as Great Oxidation Event. So this was happened some 2.4 to 2 billion years ago. That was the Paleo-Proterozoic era. At that time, till that time, the amount of oxygen was very, very less in the atmosphere. But due to the emergence of photosynthetic cyanobacteria, what happened by the byproduct of photosynthesis, as you know, there is oxygen. So oxygen got accumulated in the atmosphere. So that had a very catastrophic effect on the anaerobic individuals, organisms. Till that at that time, the majority of living organisms were anaerobic. So because of the presence of oxygen or the oxidation, what happened? All of them got extinct. So that is an example for the effect of oxygen on biodiversity. So oxygen started like this. There was an accumulation of the changes in the amount of oxygen. Okay. Now the Earth is actually going through cycles of ice ages and greenhouse periods. Ice age means when we have covering of ice on Earth. That period is known as ice age. Even now we are going through an ice age. Only thing is that we have less amount of the entire Earth is not covered by ice, but still we are in an ice age. But there were periods when there was no ice at all. That was known as greenhouse periods. So it was possible only for some organisms which could withstand this kind of environment. Others, they got perished. Then ice ages we can, that classify into two. It can be divided into two periods. One is glacial period and interglacial periods. At present, we are in a glacial period, interglacial period between two glacials. And after some years, thousands of years, normally the cycle is 40 to 100 years. That is the cycle of glacial and interglacial periods. And we may have a glacial period next. We don't know when that will happen. Okay, there is a fluctuation of temperature. So there are periods when there is when the Earth is completely covered by ice. Then there are periods when some of the ice covering is melted, and there are some periods when there is no ice covering at all. Okay, that is known as that is greenhouse periods. So now at present we are in a interglacial period. So this is the amount fluctuation of carbon dioxide on Earth. Carbon dioxide also can lead to that warmth, temperature rise on Earth. And why there is a glacial period? What is the reason for glacial period? That is not because of human interference. We have nothing to do with this. Of course, at present, because of global warming, there is a faster rate of melting of ice. Even otherwise also, because of natural events also, there could be melting of ice. So this is mainly because of orbital forcing. What is orbital forcing? Orbital forcing is the effect on climate of slow changes in the tilt of the Earth. You know that the Earth is that tilted on its axis that you have studied from your primary school. You have studied that. Plus the shape of the Earth's orbit around the sun, that also changes. Okay, so there is a change in the tilt as well as the orbit of the Earth around the sun that keeps on changing cyclically. And these cycles are known as Milankovitch cycles. And this is the reason why these orbital changes modify the total amount of sunlight reaching the Earth by up to 25% at mid latitudes. Okay, so that is the reason why in some periods there is ice and during some period there is no ice. Okay, because temperature is fluctuating. This is the Milankovitch that I'm not skipping. Okay, I'll just in another 5 minutes I will try to complete it. Some of the recent examples of the extinction because of changes on Earth, physical changes on Earth. Around the last glacial period ended some 11,000 years ago. Actually, not ice age. You can't say it ice age. You are still in the ice age. But the glacial period, the last glacial period, ended some 11,000 years ago. And because of that, mammoths, woolly rhinos, cave bears, and so many other mammals died because they were adapted to very cold conditions. When the temperature started rising, they got extinction. That is one of the recent evidences. Then a very recent one, this is a news from Australia last year, 2019. Because of the rising temperature in Australia, the temperature rose to near 50 degrees Celsius. Many birds started dying down. Okay, so this is a very recent example why some species are dying. Then another example, because of melting of ice, there is a species of a whale that is known as gray whales. They started moving to Atlantic Ocean because there was no way for the whales to reach Atlantic Ocean from Pacific Ocean, because that is covered by ice. That way was blocked by ice. That because of our global warming, that got melted, and these these animals are now observed in Atlantic Ocean. So what will happen because of that? We still don't know what will happen to that. Okay, whether it will be an advantage of this animal or disadvantage, that we have to wait and see. Okay, anyway, as I said earlier, the species age depends on their adaptability. Okay, so there are some animals which could survive in spite of all these very harsh changes in the environment. So one of the examples is a very minute animal known as tardigrade, which is otherwise known as a water bear. This creature is so small that it is only visible under a microscope. Its peculiarity is that the water bear is the only animal to have survived all 5 extinctions known to man. we don't. There is one more species. I will come to that later. Known for being an extremophile, it can survive in temperatures as low as -200 degrees Celsius, as well as 151. That means -200 to 1 plus 151 degrees Celsius. They can survive. So they have been here for all these billions of years. Similarly, this is the tardigrade. They look very nice under microscope, but that you can't see them by your naked eye. Another example is bivalve molluscans. Now, a lot of studies are being conducted on bivalve mollusks. Okay, especially about extinction, reasons for extinction or adaptability. For the past 3 decades, bivalve mollusks have served as a protective model system to explore extinction dynamics. These invertebrates are deeply ancient and have been present on Earth throughout the Phanerozoic period, and they have witnessed both the background extinction and all of the big 5 extinction. Other than the tardigrade, bivalves were also there. Okay, so maybe not a single species. They also have a range of traits preserved in the fossil record that allow robust inferences into major effects of the ecology, life history, and the trophic interaction. So they give some insights into the extinction of many species, or you can say the species age. Okay, so this is my last part of my talk. I'm sorry, I have crossed my time limit, but
Okay, sir.
it's okay, no? Okay. Actually, I was rushing because I wanted to complete. So another 5 or 10 minutes I will take, okay? So we can consider Earth as a giant ecosystem. So I have already talked about the changing climate, changing physical and biological characteristics of Earth, okay? So you know what is an ecosystem. So the entire Earth can be treated as a giant ecosystem. So you know that the process known as ecological succession that you have studied in ecology. What is ecological succession? So that is a changing community in an area. That is what is known as ecological succession, isn't it? So these are the steps of you know about the steps of ecological succession. These are the steps in an ecological succession. Normally, it starts in a bare area without any flora or fauna. It may be a primary area. That means already there was nothing from the beginning of Earth. Or it can be a secondary thing. There was a forest or something that was wiped out due to some climatic catastrophe, some natural the disasters. Okay, that's why it is known as nudation. Nudation maybe it was there in the beginning itself, or it may be secondary nudation. Then invasion, that means animals and plants will come here. That is known as invasion. And third is competition. So in nudation, we can compare this with the origin of Earth, nudation, okay, about 4.6 billion years ago. Then invasion can be compared to origin of life, somewhere 3.7 billion years ago. When the number of species increased, then there was competition as well as co-action was there. Then the third step is very important, which is known as reaction. Okay, so reaction, what is reaction? I'll explain in detail. And finally, we are getting a stable climax. Okay, stabilized community. We are getting a stable climax community. Normally, a climax community is a balanced community, a self-reliant or self-sufficient community, like a forest. That is it. But if you take the globe as a big ecosystem, we are still not. We are yet to reach a stabilized community. We don't have a that climax community yet, because we are changing. It's going on changing because the reaction is not over. Okay, so what is this reaction? Reaction means this is the most important stage in succession. The mechanism of the modification. What is reaction? Reaction is the mechanism of the modification of the environment through the influence of living organisms on it. Okay, that is what is known as reaction. Okay, so the animals or the species itself will react with the environment and change the environment or change the community. That is what is known as reaction. Okay, so as a result of reaction, changes takes place in soil, water, light condition, temperatures, etc., in a small ecosystem. Similarly, that kind of effects can happen in the large ecosystem like Earth. Okay. So finally, what will happen? The reaction of a species to its ecosystem could lead to its own extinction. Normally that is what is happening. That's why community is changing from seer to seer, from stage to seer. Communities are changing. Okay, that means some species will go extinct because of its own action. My dear friends, that is what is happening now. Okay, so reaction is happening now. Reaction due to which species? Reaction caused by Homo sapiens. Okay, so we should learn from all these, ecological lessons. Okay, what are the the impacts of or reactions due to Homo sapiens? All these changes: global warming, climate change, pollution, deforestation, habitat loss, etc., 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 which will lead to extinction of man from Earth. That's what is going to happen. Okay, unless we do something. So that's what I said. There are no climate community at global level yet. Okay, so the possibility of climate community is also very remote. Why so? Because of our actions. You know that there's a concept known as ecological footprint. Ecological footprint means the amount of the quantity of area land we require for our sustainable development or sustainable survival. That is what is known as ecological footprint. Okay, so in 2014, the per capita global footprint was 2.8 gigahectare, or sorry, global hectare. Global hectare. Normally, this is the unit of ecological footprint is global hectare. So 2.8 global hectare is required for one person for its survival, for its all survival, like for the production of oxygen, elimination of carbon dioxide, food, water, etc., etc. A person requires 2.8 global hectare of land. Since global biocapacity, but what is our biocapacity of the Earth? That in 2014, that was only 1.7 gigahectare, sorry, global hectare per person. That was the available, capacity of Earth. But we had crossed it. We required 2.8 global hectare of land. That means the eco-friend, the ecological footprint of humanity overshot or crossed Earth's biocapacity by 1.1 global hectares. Okay, so what does that mean? In other words, 1.7 Earths would be needed to sustain current resource demands. Or alternatively, it takes Earth more than 1 year and 8 months to regenerate what is used in 1 year. So that was in 2014. Now it is 2021. So our life is still becoming more and more and more consumerism is happening. More and more people are living in urban areas. The lifestyle is changing all over the world. Okay, mainly this ecological footprint is contributed by developed countries. Okay, so there are a lot of developing countries, and the underdeveloped countries, they will also become like America and other countries. So what will happen to Earth? So Earth, whatever resources we have on Earth will not be sufficient. It will not be sustainable. So a point will come that there will be no resources at all for such a huge population. Like we have around 8 billion people now. So unless we reduce the population, we are going to be in trouble. Okay. So now this is the final question of this webinar. Okay. Will Homo sapiens will go extinct? My answer is not 2. I have written only yes, yes, not yes. I will write 100 yeses. Okay, yes, 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 will continue. If it is left to the mercy of nature, if the nature is given its control, then definitely the human Homo sapiens will go extinct. When it will happen, that we don't know. But hopefully there are some good people. All are not bad, isn't it? But hopefully the human brain will find an exit hole. This is an optimism. So I'm a very optimistic person. I always tell people that we will find some way. We will find that exit. That means that maybe we will also find some alternative planet outside Earth, so that we can go there. The life will be that transplanted from Earth to that planet. Anyway, that will have to be done. because Earth is also going to die a natural death. You know that this is the life cycle of a sun. Okay, so we are now here. Okay, so the solar system started somewhere about 4.6 billion years ago. When Earth was formed, sun was also formed at the same time. Okay, so now we are here. So the sun is a small star. Okay, we have two types of stars in the universe. One, some are big stars and others are small stars. So sun is a very small star. Okay, so this is changing now. Slowly, slowly it is changing. And after another 5 billion years, we have a lot of years. Okay, we have enough time for to behave properly. Okay, so it will become a red giant. So it will become cooler as well. It will become very big. That means it will absorb our Earth. There will be no Earth, no moon, no planet. Nothing will be there. Everything will be absorbed by the red giant. And finally, again, it will still become cooler. It will become a planetary nebula. And finally, the last stage of sun is white dwarf. That means that Earth is going to die anyway, but not very soon. Okay. So what we are actually doing, we are fastening, we are just enhancing the speed of extinction. So that is what we can do. We can reduce the speed of extinction, the speed of extinction on Earth, extinction of life on Earth, as well as we can find some ways by which we can just escape Earth and go somewhere else. So there are some hopes. So I'm closing my talk with a note of hope. So we should be always hopeful. We should be always optimistic. Okay, so if you see the history of human beings, Homo sapiens at about 300,000 years old is a comparative newcomer. 300,000 years means including our ancestors. Changing environments, global catastrophes, pandemics, and more could wipe us out. Okay, so, or we could evolve sufficiently. Second option. This is second option. Far from our current form, that we become a new species. I don't think that is going to happen. We will not allow our own evolution. Okay, Homo sapiens would be no more, though our lineage would continue. That is one option. But there are some factors which I don't have time to discuss all those things. There is a possibility that the evolution of Homo sapiens is not possible because of various reasons. But if there is one thing that distinguishes humans from the rest of the life on Earth, it's our resilience. That's what happening now. Okay. So actually the COVID-19, if it were some other animals, those animals would have been wiped out if it were not Homo sapiens. But we know how to adapt our that adverse conditions. Even this webinar is happening. That is a part of this adaptation, isn't it? So even if there is no seminar, we have webinar. So we always find some alternative ways. Similarly, we will someday we will find out some solutions to that survive. Okay, so we have learned to live on all 7 continents in environments nearly as varied as exist in our planet. So there is no other animal which can survive in except maybe a few small animals. Others will not be able to survive in all 7 continents. So, okay, so even if the world should change drastically as climate changes makes increasingly likely, humanity will almost certainly march onward. This is an optimistic hope. So we have to work hard for that. If you still idly, this will not happen. We have to do something. So there are a few ambitious projects in this direction. One of the, I will discuss only 2 projects. One is stratospheric controlled perturbation experiment. It's a very new experiment. It's otherwise known as SCOPEX, launched by Harvard University scientists. Its aim is to examine the solution for global warming by spraying non-toxic calcium carbonate, because to reduce the amount of solar radiation entering Earth, what is their solution? By spraying non-toxic calcium carbonate dust into the atmosphere, a sun reflecting aerosol will be produced that may offset the effects of global warming. So that is their ambitious project. By just covering the Earth by this calcium carbonate dust, probably we will be able to reduce global warming. This is actually funded by Bill Gates. Bill Gates is funding this project, but unfortunately, there are a lot of opposition to this project. There are this kind of demonstrations in America itself. We are the experiment, bring back our blue skies, etc., etc. Because they are fearing that this might produce some, some bad effects, some adverse effects, some undesirable effects. So that is a fear. Anyway, scientists are not going to introduce this project without a proper testing. That will be tested properly, then only that will be introduced. Let us be optimistic. So whatever be the scientific discoveries, there are people who will oppose it, like our vaccination. There are many people, even in America, who oppose vaccination. So we can't stop them. We can't cover their mouths. Let them speak whatever they want. So another recent experiment, the latest experiment, is the production of oxygen using a oxygen plant in the Ingenuity. That is the this is a Mars mission by USA. So NASA's Perseverance Mars rover, Ingenuity, not Ingenuity, Ingenuity is the helicopter, isn't it? Perseverance Mars rover extracts first oxygen from red planet, because there is little amount of oxygen in the atmosphere of Mars. So this oxygen plant could absorb or extract some amount of oxygen. So that is a prototype. So if you have a very big oxygen plant like this, you may be able to produce enough oxygen which can be used by astronauts who are visiting Mars. Okay, so this was the 2000. This was a news of 21st April 2021, very recent one. Okay, so things are happening like this, and hopefully one day we will be able to outcome many of our current problems. So finally, these are the final words. Extinction is a reality. So we have to accept it. We may not be able to stop it completely, but we will have to fight it tooth and nail. Especially, we may not be able to, stop extinction of all animals. At least we will be able to protect life on Earth. Okay, and we may be able to take life to some other hospitable planet. The ongoing search for a hospitable planet, hopefully would one day be fruitful. That's what I believe. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sumodan sir. It was a beautiful presentation. And now we can move into the question answer session. Firstly, I have one question for you, sir. You have hinted on it, but I need more explanations. Sir,
Okay.
why you didn't include contagious diseases in the list, which leads to population decline?
Yeah, that's
And
actually,
probably for
yeah.
species extinction. Is it never happened in our Earth's history? I'm asking in the context of coronavirus and mass mortality fear.
Yeah. In the case of human beings, there were some periods like Spanish flu, plague, then smallpox, TB, tuberculosis. But fortunately, we could survive. But there were some, maybe from the animal world, there were some instances when some species got eliminated because of infectious diseases. That's also a possibility. I don't deny that, and I could not include that. So that was that I just forgot that area. That's also
Okay.
important.
Thank you, sir. Sir, could you see the question answer box? Shall I read the questions one by one?
Yeah.
Okay, first question. Sir, if there is an extinction happens, one condition is climate change or the asteroid hit.
Yeah.
Asteroid hit. Most talked is climate change, isn't it? By
Yeah, it
Amal
is
Hussain.
climate change. It is climate change because during the Cretaceous period, there is evidence that there was a impact by the asteroid, but not in other extinctions, not in other massive extinctions. We don't have any evidence.
One more question from Amal Hussain. If animals go into extinction, it is inevitable for the existence of humans' lives. If animals, other animals extinct.
Yeah, of course.
Humans.
Of course. Yeah, we need other animals also. We can't survive alone. We need our, that environment. We need our biotic community. because they depend on other animals for various purposes, not only food. For so many other purposes, we need other animals. So without animals, we may not be able to survive. But even if something happens like that, suppose some phenomenon will happen like that, we will find out some way out. I'm sure about it. Suppose we are taking humans to some other planets, we will find some way without the help of other animals. But at present, we need animals.
Scientists often quote the example of honeybees.
Okay. That is for pollination. Yeah. So suppose all these trees went extinct. So we will find out something, some other way to, that as all honeybees went extinct. We will find out some other way to pollinate these plants. I am very hopeful about that.
Next question, does extinctions disapprove the existence of God?
How
God
can it
is
prove?
considered with a creator?
You can say that that is against it. If there is God, there should not be any extinction.
One more anonymous.
There should not be any change in biodiversity. Biodiversity should be stable if there is God.
One more funny question. Will the robot be a factor in the extinction of man? One question from Basim. Is anthropogenic extinction lead to imbalance in food web?
Of course, certainly. That's what is happening.
And one question from Vidya B. Will zoo animals face extinction because of inbreeding?
Very much possible, because a time will come that you will not be able to breed these captive animals. That's possible.
One more question from Basim. Is the impact of co-extinction much higher than the rest?
What is that?
The impact of co-extinction.
Co-extinction. Extinction
much higher than the rest. I don't know what he...
I think what he meant was extinction of many animals together. Or maybe it is massive extinction. We don't know. Anyway, we don't have that kind of, that data with us to say which is better or which is worse. Anyway, we know that there were 5 mass extinctions. But even after that, even after 90 to 95% organisms got extinct, even then after that, there was a survival, there was a resurgence of biodiversity. So that will happen.
One question from Kulveer Dinsa. If the extinction and origin of species is inevitable, the humans are less likely to be blamed for the loss of some amazing creatures on Earth. If the extinction...
I would say that 50%, 50-50. We also have a role. So human activities, as I said earlier, what was that reaction in the succession of ecological succession? I talked about the reaction. So reaction will lead to not only the extinction of our own species, it can affect other species also. So our actions can affect other animals also. So we have to be blamed. We can't escape that blame.
One question from Anonymous. What made water bear survive all the extinction period?
1 minute. Just 1 minute. I'm very happy that Dr. Dinsa is here. We were colleagues when I was in Goa. He's from Punjab.
Okay. Thank you for joining, sir. What made water bear to survive all this extinction period? Is it due to its DNA peculiarity or something?
Yeah, mainly DNA peculiarity. That is, after all, every trait is controlled by your DNA. So it has that kind of traits with which they are able to survive. I don't have the data with me, all the details. So you can get it, all these, why they are surviving. You can get it if you Google it, you will get it. I don't have all this data, why they are surviving. But they have some features. They have some features.
He has supplemented one more question. Is water bear a conformer or regulator species? Thus, it is not affected by any water pollution ever last years.
Yeah, it must be. What is that? What is the question?
Conformer or regulator? Osmo or thermo? Maybe thermo.
Okay,
Thermo-conformer or thermo-regulator.
They don't belong to any of these groups. They're totally unique. So we can't say they are regulators or they are conformers. It's very difficult to say. If you want to say they are conformers, that's also true. If you say that they are regulators, that's also true. Okay.
One question from Rajkumar Sanachoba. Sir,
Okay.
my simple question is, what is the merit and demerit of human merits? If human will continuously dominant on this earth, what will happen?
Okay, anyway, we are talking about evolution, we are talking about ecology, we are talking about extinction. Why we are talking about all these things? Because we are human beings. If there is no man, there is no universe. Okay, so nobody will talk about universe. Nobody will talk about extinction. Okay, so from that point, humans should be there. So we should see that we survive as well as other animals also survive. Okay, only we can take even the animals with us. Without human beings, probably even animals will not be able to survive for a long time. So I would say I'm very positive about human species. So only we can do it. These kinds of things. Even that by regulating the nature, we may be like the experiment I talked about, that is covering the atmosphere with dust. These kinds of things only human beings can be done. So in that way, I'm very positive about Homo sapiens.
And question, I read about our future species, Homo sapiens sapiens futuris, with reduced small finger. How is it possible as we are using our small finger for keyboard typing and all?
Okay. So these are all fictions. Maybe there may be some changes, but not very possible in the the near future. It may take many more years, which we may not be able to see. We will be perished by that.
From Shalva
Evolution is not that fast. Evolution is a very slow process. It will take a lot of time.
From Shalva Dharmaraj, sir, it is a wonderful presentation. I have one question. It's about your suggestion or measures or predictions, how humans can adopt to survive in the current conditions. We know that we have created the destruction, but now they can survive.
So that is what actually we are doing. By we know that one of the main reasons why there is global warming, that is because of emission of carbon dioxide, and because of many international treaties, we are trying to reduce it. So that kind of work should go on. Similarly, afforestation, in a reduction of deforestation, reduction of pollution, all those things, whichever factors are adverse to the environment, adverse to the world, that should be reduced. We can do it, but if we should be committed to that. If we can do these things properly in a very planned manner, we will be able to reduce the problems, and probably we can extend our survival. I don't say that we can't live here forever. At least we can reduce the the rate of our rate of extinction, or we can increase the species age of human beings and other animals by many activities.
Sir, one question from Abhiram, which is other species that survived all the 5 extinction? You have mentioned humans have already survived.
Not humans.
Any other species have survived all the 5 extinctions?
5 extinction. One is the tardigrade. The second was bivalves, mussels. These are the 2 species so far we know. There could be other species also.
From Fatima, is an evolution possible for humans?
That's what we have discussed already, no? That evolution is, if you go by Darwinism, evolution is by natural selection. So in that scenario, nature should be dominant, should be supreme. Then only there will be natural selection. In the case of human beings, what's happening? We are actually, that bypassing some of the natural laws. Say, I will tell you a small example. Genetic diseases. So we have people with, genetic diseases. So if it is left to the nature will just kill off all these individuals with these genetic diseases. That means that the nature will not allow them to reproduce, or the nature will not allow to pass those genes to the next generation. But in our case, we care for them. We don't kill them. Okay, so we try to find out some medicines and we'll try to extend its lifespan. Even some of them will marry and they will having kids, and they will keep on transmitting passing over the genes to the next generation. Okay, so nature doesn't have a dominant role in that. So human beings, as long as human beings are able to resist the forces of nature, there will be no evolution. So beyond that, there's a possibility. Maybe a point will come in time when the nature will overtake us, and there may be some modification of our species. These are all hypotheses. Okay.
How religion and evolutionary biology coexisting?
Unfortunately, they don't coexist. They don't. Some people may argue that they don't. Because it's a simple example I will tell you about the origin of man. So according to Bible, all of us originated some 6,000 years back. But evolutionary science says it was some 2 lakhs years ago the first human being originated. Okay, so we can't compare religion and evolution.
Okay, but religion is nourishing more than evolutionary biology.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Then one question: why did only humans evolve intelligence? There are plenty of other species in the earth, but only humans have evolved their intelligence.
Intelligence.
Power of intelligence, power of thinking.
There are other animals also. They are also intelligent, but not as intelligent as we are. So that was a point. That was an accident, you can say, accident in evolution. So we don't have any other explanation for that. It just happened.
Vidya again asked, kindly suggest books to read about ongoing extinction.
Ongoing extinction. There are many books you can if you search Z library, Z library or Z library. There are many books on extinction. You just type extinction. Even I have downloaded a few books. I just don't remember the names of those books. There are a few books, very good books on the current situation in extinction research, or not only extinction, all aspects of evolution. A single book, I don't remember the names.
Ima asked, water bears are the only animals to survive and breed in space, right?
Which one?
Water bears.
Yeah.
Then one question.
And
that
the
has
thing
already
is,
mentioned.
Yeah, because these are very important animals, these water bears, because we may get some insights into how we can survive on other planets. We may get some insights. So a lot of research are going on in the case of water bears.
Can eco-restoration influence evolution in future? Eco-restorative activities influence evolution in future?
It can. Hopefully, it will influence.
Will dinosaurs come back if the extinction is possible? Means as part of evolution, will they appear again? That is what she mentioned.
If they appear, unless we protect them, they will be killed by human beings themselves.
One question: why is humanity living against what they actually are? Why is our society designated like a competition and not something a human can evolve and enjoy at the same time?
I didn't get that question.
Yeah, I couldn't get.
Can you read it again?
Why is humanity living against what they actually are? Why is our society designed like a competition and not something a human can evolve and enjoy at the same time?
The question is
not getting the point.
Clear. I'm not getting the point. Anyway,
one question: why are humans evolving backwards?
Are we? I don't think so.
Will virus replace humans? One more.
What is
Will
that?
virus replace humans and
So
dogs?
we will coexist. We'll coexist. We will not be able to eliminate viruses, and viruses will not be able to eliminate human beings. We will coexist.
Actually, we got 37 questions in the question and answer box.
That's very nice.
I have filtered something. I
Okay,
have
well,
filtered.
anyway, I'm very happy to know that people are interested in extinction.
Yeah,
I thought I would get only a few questions. Quite unexpected.
Sir, shall we wind up?
Yeah.
Questions are almost finished.
It's almost 11:45.
Yeah.
55 minutes.
Over to Shija.
Okay, Jisha teacher.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, for delivering an eye-opening message. We are living in the beginning of a mass extinction, where extinction is the rule and survival is the exception. Let me take this opportunity to thank Dr. P.K. Sumodan, sir, on behalf of Team Agora. We are very grateful to you, sir, for accepting our invitation and for delivering a very interesting and sensational session about extinction. I wish to thank our principal, Dr. R. Sunilkumar, sir, IQAC coordinator, Dr. S.V. Manoj, sir, Agora 2021 general convener, Jisha teacher, and all members of Team Agora for their continuous effort and contribution in organizing this wonderful series. A very special thanks to all the participants for being with us all throughout this webinar and making it a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, Shija.
Thank you, Jisha.
Okay, thank you.
The link for feedback form is available in the chat box. Please fill the feedback form for getting e-certificates.
What is the number of participants?
I have
190?
noticed, I have noticed 147, but there is some problem with the Zoom.
I see.
ഒരു 147 കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോ കുറെ പേർക്ക് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല എന്ന് മെസ്സേജ് വരുന്നുണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
I see.
അത് എന്താന്ന് മനസ്സിലായില്ല. അപ്പൊ കുറെ പേര് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യാതെ പോയിട്ടുണ്ടാവും.
I can see now
സാധാരണ
170.
അറൌണ്ട് 200 സാധനം വരേണ്ടതാ സാർ. എപ്പോഴും വരാറുണ്ട്. എന്തോ ഒരു ടെക്നിക്കൽ പ്രോബ്ലം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
It was a wonderful experience. Thank you very much.
സാർ ടോപ്പിക് ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ച ആള് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് ആവില്ല എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ചത്. പിന്നെ പ്രിൻസിപ്പലിന് കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ വന്നത് സാർ 2 ദിവസം മുമ്പ് ഞങ്ങള് സാറ് വാക്സിൻ റിലേറ്റഡ് ടോക്കിന്റെ കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നല്ലോ. അപ്പൊ സാറ് നമ്മുടെ ഡോക്ടർ അനുരൂപ് ഡോക്ടറെയും കോണ്ടാക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറഞ്ഞു. പിന്നെ അതുപോലെ വാക്സിൻ റിലേറ്റഡ് ടോക്കിന് വേണ്ടി സാറിനെ കോണ്ടാക്ട് ചെയ്ത കാര്യം ആ സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ സാറിനോട് പറയുകയും ചെയ്തു, പ്രിൻസിപ്പലിനോട്. അതാ സാറിന് കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ വന്നു. സാധാരണ സാറ് നല്ല ആ വിഷയം നന്നായിട്ട് പഠിച്ചിട്ടാണ് സാറ് സംസാരിക്കുക സാധാരണ.